York Times, and it was in 2002. And this is when they thought everybody was scared and would do whatever the system said. And it just says everything you do is tracked, everything you do is recorded. We're going to watch everything you do. It's going to be an Internet of Things. Everything will be tracked by smart meters. This is the new America under the Total Information Awareness Network. There it is. Total Information Awareness by Jeffrey Rosen. And it breaks it all down. I mean, Rand Paul ought to just get up and read that on the Senate floor, where they quote him saying all this. In fact, will you print me that article? I want to read some of it. We're going to cover the Second Amendment with a guest coming up in the next segment. And then we'll get into China's fearless to fight with U.S. state media, a bunch of economic news, teachers threatened with fines for violating Michelle O's school lunch rules. Because in a free society, you're supposed to have everything your kids eat federalized and have the First Lady lecturing you. But let's go back to Rand Paul's historic speech.
This is what we fought the revolution over. Are we going to so blithely give up our freedom? Are we going to so blithely go along and just say, take it? Well, I'm not going to take it anymore. I don't think the American people are going to take it anymore. 80% of those under 40 say we've gone too far. That this whole collection of all of our records all the time is too much. The court has said, how can records be relevant to an investigation that hasn't started? The court has said that even under these lower standards, even under these standards of saying that it would be relevant, that all of the stuff they're collecting is precisely irrelevant. Now people say, well, they're not looking at it. They're not listening to it. It's the tip of the iceberg what we're talking about here. And realize that they were dishonest about the program until we caught them. They kept saying over and over again, we're not doing this. We're not collecting your records. And they were. The head of the intelligence agency lied to the American people, and he still works here. We should be upset. We should be marching in the streets and saying, he's got to go. We can't allow this. We can't allow the rule of law to be so trod upon that we live in an arbitrary governmental world where they collect anything they want, anytime they want.
They may kill him.
This is the tip of the iceberg. They're collecting records through executive order. They're collecting records through Section 702.
Now, do you know why I love Rand Paul?
People say, how will we protect ourselves without these programs? What about using the Constitution? What about using judicial warrants? The Sonarif boy, the Boston bomber, they say, how will we look at his phone records? Get a warrant. Put his name on it. You can get a warrant. There's no reason in the world. The guy had already bombed us. You think anybody was going to turn down a warrant? We should have gotten a warrant before. Get warrants on people we have suspicion on. The Simpson guy that was shot in Garland, he'd already been arrested. We had suspicion. Let's hire 1,000 more FBI agents. Let's hire people to do the investigation and quit wasting time on innocent American people.
Man, this is good.
Let's be very clear while we're here. President Obama set this program up. The President Obama who once was against the Patriot Act, the President Obama who once said, you know what, we should have judges write warrants. The President Obama who once believed in the Fourth Amendment is the president.
We'll cover the attack on the Second Amendment straight ahead and more with Senator Rand Paul. Gun control group deceives public by hiring paid actors for hidden camera experiment. We're going to play the audio and video of this coming up in a moment. Anti-gun group also reportedly ignored gun laws in filming fake video in New York City. But before we go to that, we were already scheduled this gentleman last week, but it fits into what's currently happening. The reports are up on Infowars.com from The Hill. Administration preps new gun regulations. The headline should be, administration prepares to move ahead to restrict guns outside of law by executive power grab. Just like they've done on so many other issues. Borders, power plants, military, it's ruled by executive fiat. And the Justice Department says they're going to move forward. Well, we went through what those proposals basically are. The story's up on Infowars.com. Obama announces draconian unconstitutional gun regs by executive fiat. Justice Department wants to ban more Americans from owning guns. It goes after gun shows. It goes after private transfers. It goes after veterans and others where they just claim you're mentally ill with no evidence and suddenly raid you or make you turn your guns in or you can't buy guns. They're making noises with more AR-15 type bans, 5.56 restrictions on ammo. Everything we just saw a few months ago where they brought forward the new proposal rule, not law, and then had to back off under pressure, but they're back. This is what they do. We'll go over more of these sections, but the story is on Infowars.com by Kit Daniels. David is a longtime gun rights activist and grassroots leader. He's been writing professionally on the subject of the right to keep and bear arms since '99 for Guns and Ammo, Handguns, and Gun magazines. He's a panelist selected by the New York Times blog to discuss the Virginia Tech shootings. Again, David Codrea joins us. We see the brainwashing where they come out and say there's more gun crime than there's ever been when we know it's down. Well, Professor Lott was here about a month ago. He said it's down 61%. But we crunched the Justice Department numbers, which we know they got caught last year trying to make it look worse than it was under White House orders, unprecedented. But still, that's 51% drop in crime using guns since 1992. And those numbers are public. Even the LA Times had to admit gun crime's down, but perception is it's up. And that's because of the brainwashing in Hollywood and movies and TV and in the culture from people basically following the orders of the Attorney General, who said just brainwash the public to not like guns. But look at what happened with the terrorist attack up in Garland. Folks had guns, they were taken out. Look at what the head of Interpol called for last year. He said it's time to start arming people like they do in some areas of the U.S. so we don't have mall shootings. The answer to bad people with guns is good people with guns. But I'm not going to go over all the tried and true known facts. The bigger issue here is a whole new assault is coming, extra legislatively, extrajudicially, directly from the gun grabbers themselves. And they're now, admittedly, when we had Mr. Lott on, Professor Lott, Dr. Lott a few, 3 or 4 weeks ago, is they're coming out with fake statistics now. Just like they got caught with fake statistics on how positive gay marriage is and how wonderful it is and how wonderful those relationships are and how people, once they're exposed to it, love it. I'm not even bashing gays. It's not even on my radar screen. The point is it came out last week. It was fake studies at major universities. So from fake studies to fake crime statistics to now fake videos, which you could tell they're actors. I mean, they think the public is so dumb. David's here to break it down for us. David, thank you for coming on the broadcast today.
Well, Alex, thanks very much for having me on. It's great to have your crew reach out to me like this, because this is an important story, because everything that the anti-gunners do is based on a lie. You mentioned Dr. Lott, and they're trying to now take his studies, which prove that guns in the hands of private citizens deter crime, and they're trying to say, oh, well, that's not true. They're trying to take the studies out of people like Gary Kleck, who talks about the number of defensive gun uses per year, and say, oh, that's not true. So all they ever present is the cost of so-called gun violence, which is overwhelmingly done by criminals who, if you take a look at their existing laws, are not allowed to have guns anyway, and we see how well that works. All of these things are aimed at us peaceable American gun owners. It's no surprise to see this administration is trying to do things through executive order. It's also no surprise to see this being spearheaded by the Justice Department. And it's no surprise to see that the Republican establishment has been so silent on this, right up through to and including the Loretta Lynch confirmation as Attorney General. I mean, who is surprised that she is not a continuation of Eric Holder and that she is a creature of the Obama White House.
DavidCodria.com is your website where folks can link through and see all the amazing articles that you write for multiple magazines and publications. Codria is C-O-D-R-E-A, DavidCodria.com. Again, I'm Alex Jones. This is the Alex Jones Show. If he just joined us, he also writes for Examiner.com. David, if gun owners are awake, we know they're coming after our guns, we know they're predatory, we know it's about totalitarianism, finally people are getting... What we're seeing today is just rule of gangs, rule of combines, rule of special interest. These billionaires all have bodyguards. Michael Moore's got 6 bodyguards armed. It's been in the news when they get arrested with guns in illegal areas like airports. And he has the nerve to get up on MSNBC and say, quote, gun owners are racist people in the country scared of blacks. That's all they've got, is to invoke race instead of going, let's look at where we have gun control. Chicago, D.C., New York, highest crime rates. Liberal democratic areas disarming black people and then letting crime run rampant. And, of course, the first gun laws were against black people in this country. It is such a bankrupt... I mean, I played the Fox News clip, Fox Sports clip. I played ESPN clips. Remember the talking point last year that the NRA is the new Klan? The NRA was founded to fight the Klan. They inverse everything. I've been at gun rallies and had people walk up and go, you're just a big fat racist. I'm talking about white yuppies, and I really am sick of them. They have no intellectual acumen. They have no historical understanding. All they have is arrogance of their totalitarian cult. They are not liberals. It's liberal to keep more of your money. It's liberal to have your own property. It's liberal to raise your kids as you see fit. It's liberal to be able to associate with who you want. It's liberal to not be spied on. It's liberal to be able to have guns to protect yourself. It's liberal to be able to travel where you want. It's liberal to read and have knowledge and to have more freedom, not less. That's liberal, not totalitarian. But you have these mental midgets. In fact, I played a clip yesterday. I'm tempted to play it again. My son went out to see if we could duplicate what happened in New York in Times Square where no one knew what the TPP was, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And Austinites were just as dumb. They didn't know what planet they were on. But they could talk about racism. You're not a conspiracy theorist, are you? You're not racist, are you? That's all they could say. It's amazing. When you have knowledge, that's all they say is conspiracy theory, and then it makes them feel superior because they know a magic $5 word. We're going to go back to our guest here in a moment to finish up with the attack on the Second Amendment and where it's going and talk about this article that Kit Daniels wrote about that our guest broke. Gun control group deceives public by hiring paid actors. I want to talk about that for Hidden Camera Experiment. He was named Gun Rights Defender of the Month by the Citizens Committee on the Right to Keep and Bear Arms and Journalist of the Year by the Second Amendment Foundation. I want to kind of give you the floor for the last 10 minutes. And anytime you want it, you can call for the video. We can play it or just roll the video behind you. But I wanted you to have some time to get into some other Second Amendment subjects that we haven't covered.
Well, first of all, about the video, I think it's important that we clear up that everybody knew that the actors were actors in this video. I don't think it surprised anyone except the so-called progressives. And you're absolutely right. They use racism as the new scarlet letter, the R instead of the A, to try to make us afraid to speak out because then they'll call us bad names. They call themselves progressives. What they are is the exact opposite of that, which is why I say every day for them is opposite day. But what I did with this report was I filed a Freedom of Information Act request with the Mayor's Office of Film and Entertainment in the city of New York, and I proved that they were actors. I mean, we all suspected it because they walk into this gun store, this fake gun store, which we knew was fake. We knew that the guy behind the counter at the gun store was fake. He's an actor. He's done voice work for, one of the video games. I think it's Grand Theft Auto 5 or something like that, which was actually so violent that